Is your partner all you need? Like, should you be getting everything from your partner? We depend on each other for sex, because if I didn't depend on you for sex, then who would I depend on? That would get
I
me.
actually do not fully think you should depend on me for sex.
But I shouldn't depend on someone else either.
Correct. We are starting to think so much alike. And so if you're in a relationship, it's really crucial to have other people who are your best friends, so that you can call on those people and those people can call you on like your bullshit. And even if they're not calling you on your bullshit, they still have another perspective.
I could be there for you, but in being there for you, I might not be able to be fully honest with you at that moment, because that's not what you need from me. And also, if it touches in on something that's really sensitive, now we're blowing up something else, right?
Yeah.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Interracial Couple Podcast, where we are delving right into the question of how, if, and to what extent your partner can meet some or all of your needs.
What other things do people depend on their partners for?
Certainly sex.
Oh, sex. I had forgotten.
How can you forget?
Seriously.
Because we've talked about money and we've talked about sex. I think, what is the other
We didn't
third
talk
thing
about,
that people...
well, you just said sex.
Oh, yeah, we have to go to sex.
Oh, emotion.
Yeah. So we depend on each other for sex, because if I didn't depend on you for sex, then who would I depend on? That would get pretty...
I actually do not fully think you should depend on me for sex.
But I shouldn't depend on someone else either.
Correct. So it's either me or you.
So I can depend on myself.
Correct.
Okay. I think that's a pretty interesting take.
So some days I want to have sex and you don't want to have sex. So what should I do?
Those days are rare, but keep going. It's happened a few times.
Okay, I'll change it.
No, go ahead. We'll keep going with that one. Keep going with it.
Okay.
Some days you want to have sex and I don't.
And yeah.
Okay.
So what should I do? Beg you? Force you? Oh, actually.
At the moment, both of those things actually sound kind of hot, to be honest.
Or take it and make it my responsibility and just go and
use the old 5-finger
correct
satisfaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually don't think like it's your responsibility to I think it's not fully like your responsibility to satisfy all my sexual needs all the time.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. And so with that, there is a room for like, and also I think like, I want to think like it's good for women to experiment, And
in what way?
In what way? Like masturbation and toys, I don't know, all kind of ways.
Yeah.
And I think I think we recorded a podcast last week and I was like, if I found you watching porn, it would not be a big deal for me.
Right.
And if you found me watching porn, I don't think it would be a big deal for you.
Correct.
And that's kind of what I mean. I'm not saying like go out and experiment, like get your needs met by someone else. I think there are different ways to have your sexual needs met, or use your sexual energy and like direct it towards work. I don't have to meet your needs all the time, or like I don't feel like it's my responsibility to meet your need, for you to meet my sexual needs all the time, and vice versa. I feel like I could also use my sexual energy and be creative and direct it towards my business and my work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a bit of I think that's true, because I think sexual energy is a pretty profound energy that very often just gets put right into sex. And I remember when I was younger, there's someone who I was close to who was very attracted to me, but I was obviously in a very committed relationship. And we had to kind of have a conversation because she's very frank about it, which I really appreciated. She was like, I'm really attracted to you. I really want to be with you. She's like, I want to be with you. Like, I want to have sex with you. I get it. You're in a committed long-term relationship. Great. And I said, you know what? I get that, and that for me, the energy wasn't necessarily sexual, but it was still very potent and powerful. And I said, what we can actually do is we can take that same energy and we can transform that. We can put that into something, because that kind of like crush energy,
Yeah.
ooh, this is so exciting or whatever. Like rather than engaging in that way, what can we do together that's differently? Do we want to create something together? Do we want to do a performance? Do we want to, write a song? Do we want to do anything that we can take that energy and put it somewhere else? And I use that in my own life too, of in sex, to say, you know what, like I actually want to hold in that energy so we can have sex, and I'm not going to have an orgasm, because I actually want to kind of hold that energy. And, there's a whole lot of, meditations around that. And obviously there are many sort of spiritual practices around redirecting that sexual energy. But sexual energy, you're right, is not just about sex either. It's about this really creative energy. And we always just say, okay, let's just kind of like do it and, kind of get it, have this feeling, go to sleep, and, wake up the next day and kind of go about our day, as opposed to another thing, which is that sexual needs can be met in ways that are not sexual.
Sure.
So I think that's one side. And then the other is also kind of an interesting question, of to what extent am I also responsible for meeting my own sexual needs? And, and is that like a negative thing? If would you feel guilty or something? Because I know I would. I'm going to be honest. Like if and basically you fulfill my sexual needs. And what you don't, I can certainly handle myself in different ways that I even interact with sexual energy and my own sexual energy. But if you were feeling like, you know what, you're not meeting my sexual needs fully, and me like kind of picking up the rest of the slack isn't working, I would feel really bad. And quite frankly, if it happened on any type of regular basis that you felt that you needed to take responsibility for your sexual needs, that would be a problem for me, actually.
It would be.
It would be. I would feel that I was not fulfilling my duties as your partner, as a man.
I'm surprised that you'd feel that way, because I don't think I would. Like if you were like, I wanna have sex, and actually that's not true.
No, because if I was like, if you came to bed and I was masturbating, you might be like, well,
I'm right here.
Or if I didn't like ask or something and say, hey, you want to have sex, or start to initiate.
I think it's all about the communication that goes beforehand.
So if you just came into bed and you'd be like, hey, what about me?
If I was at home and I just came to bed and you were masturbating, like I would be like, wait, what's going on? Mm-hmm. But if I wasn't home and I walked in, then it would not. I think, yeah.
Like if you were on vacation and
correct,
then
then came home. I think it's all context.
Yeah, vacation's a different thing.
Yeah,
because
I think
that's pretty much the one time when in my life, I can think, if I go back the last 4 years, that's pretty much the only time, maybe once or twice, but pretty much the only time that I've masturbated was when you were gone or I was gone for an extended period of time.
Me too.
And in which case, then that's still us meeting each other's sexual needs. So it's a little bit, and I think when we kind of go back and kind of look at it, I think the other piece around that then is like, you take some responsibility, but I think the other responsibility is actually communication. Because let's just say I wanted sex more than you did.
Okay.
Then there are two things that happens. Either I need to redirect my sexual energy. I need to go find somebody else. I need to masturbate or take care of myself. Or the other thing would be, to actually be really in communication so that we actually find a way to meet those needs. Because I've noticed, and this is in general in the rest of my life, what has worked really well in my relationship with you. If I had known this earlier, my life would have been way happier, which is if I am going to, do something differently than I really kind of felt like I wanted to, one would have been like, okay, fine. Like I want to have sex 3 times a week. You want to have sex 2 times a week. okay, well, let's do every other or whatever. And now we're like, okay, fine, I'll compromise. The other one would be for me to say, you know what, I'm going to find a way to actually want what you want. And that has come up in sex. There's been a few times where you were really in the mood and I wasn't. These are situational. It has nothing to do with you. It's, I have a life outside of my relationship with you.
Yeah.
And therefore I'm doing other things. Maybe I'm tired. I didn't sleep well several nights in a row. I'm just kind of like, you know what? I'm just tired. I want to go to sleep. That's okay. If I decide that I am going to engage and have sex, even though I'm tired and I really want to go to sleep, I can either be like, okay, fine. I can be like, fine, I can wake up, myself downstairs. Or the other thing would be to say, you know what? I'm actually really going to choose this. It's not my first choice, but I'm going to make it my first choice. And in doing that and saying, I'm going to make a choice and not settle for something, but actually choose the situation that is going to be some type of compromise, for example, then I'm no longer compromising. I'm just choosing things that I otherwise wouldn't have chosen. And that is really great.
Yeah, I so agree. And I think like the whole communication around, like when you want to have sex, and it's not even like in our own relationship at this point, it's not something that we talk about, like the number of times we're going to have sex. Like it's not, I don't know, we just have sex whenever we have sex.
Yep.
But I think if one partner wants sex more than the other, I think that should be a topic of conversation, because you're right. There is those three options that, or maybe they could be more, but you need to acknowledge that the other partner wants sex more and how you are going to meet that.
And the other thing I will say, because I've dealt with a lot of men who have complained that they don't have sex as much as they want, their wives don't want as much as they do, right? And I kind of make this joke. If you make it as awesome for her as it is for you, you're never going to be without the sex that you want. And I pretty much find that to be the case, which is like, okay, I want to have sex and you don't want to have sex. In what way can I, meet your sexual needs so that way it's as amazing for you or more amazing for you than it is for me? And also in speaking to other men around this, that's one of the things that I found. Men who have all the sex they want have all the sex they want because they are thinking, like, I want to give sex instead of I want to get sex. And that's kind of been the way that I come at sex. I'm not there to get something. I'm there to give something. And when I do, it means I've also just learned that the most exciting thing for me physically even.
You get laid whenever you want.
I do, but that's not what I was going to say. Is
Most
that
of the time.
I do, but if I say, you know what, I'm going to put your needs, your like sexual needs first, then I'm going to make sure that you really, really love it and that you really want it. And therefore, it's something for both of us. And I just find that I also, physically speaking, one of the things that's so exciting for me is when you are having pleasure. And so that now becomes a really easy way in some ways for me to have all the sex that I want. And like I said, it's something that in also researching and talking with other men, that is like the key. And obviously it's not always the case. There are many, many issues that can be involved. Sometimes there can be, we really have no idea sometimes the amount of challenges that get expressed through our sexuality. So there are people who basically have, whether it's going back to family dynamics when they were kids, with religious stuff, there's all sorts of things that can play into it. But the other piece is like, I'm going to make this awesome for you. And if I make it awesome for you, then you want it. And now it's not an issue.
No, now people know.
Now they know.
Now they know.
So kind of coming all the way back around again is it really healthy to like
have your partner fulfills all your
yeah,
needs?
Yeah. Is that a thing in a healthy relationship?
Yeah. So
what do you think? I think not really.
I actually don't think they can.
They can't.
I think when you set them up that they're going to fulfill all your needs, you are setting them up for failure. you are setting that relationship is bound to fail at some point.
Yeah.
I
think the key reasons why it doesn't work is that there's this, when you come into a union with someone, you are both totally single autonomous beings in a relationship, while you've also kind of merged almost to become a unit, right? So you're both a unit and you're an individual. To the extent to which you are a unit, you now don't, you can't, it's like you're trying to completely satisfy everything that you need within yourself. And if you could do that, yeah, you could go live by yourself and be the Unabomber somewhere in Montana. But we don't. We're communal creatures. We actually really need that. And we get so much from other people that I think it's just really important to acknowledge that. That's also why we read books and watch movies and we go to parties and we do these other things. We have children, we have family events, we do things in order to really connect with others, whether it's super personal together or whether it's in a book or a movie. But the stuff that we get from others actually can enliven our relationship in the same way that what I get from others as an individual through connections, through books, whatever, can benefit me too.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today and listening to our podcast.
Whether you watch on YouTube or whether you listen on Stitcher or Google or Apple Podcasts, go ahead and subscribe. If you found this exciting, give us a rating and or share with your friends and family, depending on how close you are to your family. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.